Welcome to RV Talk Radio. Thanks for joining us. Here we talk about RV living, RV lifestyles, and RV travel. Please kick back, grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, and let's talk about RVs. Hi guys, this is Rob, your host, RV Talk Radio. Been quite a week for me and Sherry on RV Travel Quest. Thought we'd take the time to talk about some lessons learned. Oh man, there were some lessons learned. And we're going to talk about social network and getting your new RV friends. We'd like to take the time to also let you know that, did you know that RV Talk Radio has a newsletter? And basically how it works is if you go to rvtalkradio.com, go to the site itself, you'll see off to the right that you can sign up with your email address to sign up for our newsletter. Now this newsletter only sends out when there's an update, and it's all automated, and you can unsubscribe at any time. Not a problem whatsoever. It's all automated. So don't worry about giving out your email. It's not going to go out to anybody. There's no lead generation stuff. It's just a plain old automated email system, and if you get tired of it, just unsubscribe and no more emails. We also want to remind you to feel free to contact us if you have a product or service, and if you just have some questions or some information you'd like to share with us, we would be happy to discuss it on the show, and we'd be happy to feature your product or service. Just give us a holler and we'll find out what we can work out with you. So get on there, contact us. We want to hear from you. Sherry and I would really like to thank you for becoming a listener of RV Talk Radio. We do our best to keep improving. We have a lot of things on the agenda. We have a lot of interviews in the work. It's kind of hard to coordinate some of our interviews because the people we interview travel, and sometimes they get into dark spots, we call them, where they can't be on internet for a while or their cell phones are weak. So bear with us. We do have some very exciting, really exciting interviews coming up, and I just don't have dates for you yet. But the one thing I really wanted to bring up was, as a new RVer, in a way, since Sherry and I have got on the road, and even before that, when we were preparing, we were starting to meet a lot of new friends and RVers. Some are just acquaintances, some we've connected with. Some people do the same things that Sherry and I do with our, having a YouTube channel or having a Facebook or blog or vlog. And so as we connect with them, you kind of work your way to getting to know one another and understand what everybody's doing. And then when you have a good YouTube community and people you work with, you reach out to one another to help one another grow. So, for example, we've had folks we work with like the Freedom Theory or Three Tails RV, that's one of them. Another person we've been working with is Spot the Scots. And then we got miscellaneous folks that have been kind of coming into our lives. And what we do is we share our resources and we share what we've learned, so each of us don't have to relearn everything. And when it comes to the podcast, to the video world, etc., there's so much. And the people you meet that are doing this are not getting rich by any means. They're doing it from their hearts. They want to share. They might actually be a little shy as an individual, but when they get behind a camera or a radio show, they get even more out there. And so it's really fun to share what we learn out here. And one of the things I really like is Social Network. Social Network has created some tools nowadays that I haven't even used them all yet. From Periscope to Twitter to Facebook, on and on. And there's Instagram. It's just, I can't even listen. G Plus, Hangouts, goes on and on and on. There's more. But one of the ones I really enjoy is once we get connected with you on Facebook, through either our personal Facebook page, Rob and Sherry, or actually just Rob Scribner, but Sherry's connected to it. And then the other Facebook, of course, is RV Travel Buddy. And we also have a community of RV Talk Radio. Once you hit the message button, it's like an instant message. And then it's kind of neat because just out of the blue, some of the folks that we dialogue with, I can talk one-on-one with right away. So one of the best ways to talk to Sherry and I is going to Facebook, hitting the message button, and then let us know what's on your mind. And what's really nice is it comes right up on our cell phone like instant message, like text. And we can communicate with you as soon as we're available. A lot of times it'll come in while we're driving or something, and we're not going to talk to you then. We're going to be safe. But use it. We're happy to talk to you. But what we also find is other RVers that are traveling or we might have met with. I like to give a great example is Kaylee and Josh from the Freedom Theory. We caught up with each other up over in the Oregon coast. And then we left earlier than they did, and they're actually going to the same region we are, but a different place. So Sherry and I had some interesting driving coming over the mountains and coming around to Columbia and then into Central Oregon. This time of year, it's winter. The weather's constantly changing on the passes. So what was really cool was Kaylee contacted us and said, hey, which way did you go when you came over here? And what did you, and Sherry and I used to live in this area, so we know the roads pretty well. What was really nice about that was the fact that Sherry and I could share a good route that I felt that they would be much more comfortable with and get really good, beautiful backgrounds and mountains and wheat fields to see on the way there. It was a little bit longer, much safer, but the fact that we had social network and texting and telephones and the whole works to communicate the way we do nowadays, a stranger can become a friend in a matter of weeks just through getting to know one another through those resources. Another great example that I've seen recently was, I'm using the same names over and over because I'm familiar with the people and they don't mind me talking about them. The Freedom Theory and Spot the Scots, and including Sherry and I from RV Travel Quest, have never met each other. Well, we met Kaylee and Josh, but Josh and Kaylee and Spot the Scots have never met each other face to face. However, what's been really beautiful to watch is those two couples, and they're younger couples, and so they related to one another very well. So once they kind of connected, they started dialoguing more, and then pretty soon some of our videos or their videos all kind of played with each other's to have fun as a channel and to help each other's channel grow. And to make their relationship stronger, my understanding, Kaylee and Josh did a Skype with Spot the Scots, and that made it even that more personal, even though they're 5 states apart. And so what I'm trying to point out to everybody was the fact that if you learn how to use some of these tools, and it's not always easy, you will be amazed that not only will you meet people at the RV parks you go to and the places you go to, you can actually build relationships as a couple, as an individual, quite easily with social network when you use the tools correctly. The other thing that was really amazing with that new relationship between those two is Kaylee just recently had a birthday and turned 25. And Spot the Scots, which are, I believe, in Arizona, and we're all of us are up in Oregon right now, they literally made a birthday video for Kaylee, and did the cutest little thing where they made a cake for him, and you'll have to watch the videos. But you can see a friendship develop, and once again, I'm telling you, they have never met each other physically. And so that can happen to you easy. You just can't be afraid, and you gotta stick your neck out there a little bit and give it a try, and just laugh when things don't work out right. And I snicker at that a little bit because and heck, I'm older than most folks, but I've been in the internet industry for a while, so I don't get too scared from the stuff. But definitely when you're trying something new, trying Periscope or trying the Skype with somebody, and some of these new tools, you'll probably mess it up a few times. And that's the fun of it. And if you have good friends or starting to get new friends, they're truly going to understand. Maybe they'll even help you along to get one of these tools to work for you. But don't worry about it. A good example of that is a friend that I'm starting to get closer to, and his name's Aaron Jemerson. Let me say it again, Aaron Jemerson. And he's from Three Tails RV. And he also has his Facebook, I believe, is Passionate for RVing. And I probably messed that up, but you'll see more of him. It's taken a while. He's kind of connected with us, and I'm always a little bit hesitant at first. And I've gotten to know this person and actually talked on the phone a few times and started making sure, we put ourselves on speakerphone so even our wives could hear each other. And it's so funny to see how much we have in common and stuff. But what Aaron's trying to do is create an RV hangout on Saturday nights at 7 o'clock. He's still a working person. They live in an RV, but he sometimes his job flexes where we had to cancel the last hangout. But I've decided, after meeting him, that he's the kind of person that I want to be involved with. And so his hangout, I don't do hangouts that often. I'll come in and visit on the text part, but a lot of hangouts can get corrupted or go off on a tangent, and you get the wrong folks in there, and it's more like a soap opera than it is a hangout. A hangout to me in the internet world is one that's solely focused on RV related products and services, stories, and resources. And Aaron is accomplishing that. But the funny thing is I don't want to do hangouts because I'm not dependable. I can't guarantee that I can hardly get the show out on Monday mornings, let alone try to set up a hangout for everybody. So while I've seen Aaron learning the tools of running a hangout, I've decided to support him, and I tried to go to his hangouts. And it's quite humorous because, first of all, he's still kind of learning how to set up the hangout part, so there's been mistakes as we've gone. And then he tried to go to a different resource, and that was a real problem for me because I had a weak signal. And then a couple of times he's invited me to a hangout, and by the time I figured out how to get on there, or I forgot that I had to be on the hangout, I'd be 20 minutes late, and then I'd have a hard time connecting because I don't know what I was doing. And so all you can do is just laugh about the whole thing, but I know over time Aaron will have not only mastered the art of running a hangout, I know he'll keep it RV related and very professional. And at the same time, to watch him grow, to learn how to mediate a good hangout and get all the tools working, it'll be just a matter of weeks and he'll have it. I like to say that anybody has the opportunity to go visit Aaron's hangout, Passion for RVing, on Saturdays at 7 o'clock. His channel, I believe, is called, or his website, I may have it wrong, but it's threetailsrv.com. I'm not sure, but and he'll call me and say, Rob, you dork. Anyway, and I'm sorry, Aaron, but please, we allow him to post his stuff on our sites, and so when he has a hangout, just look for his notifications that he's going to have a hangout. I really urge you to come visit, and once we kind of master it, there'll be a text side to the hangout where you can ask questions and talk to whoever's on the show, and I always try to get on the show with him. And we urge others too that if you're like to have a good RV discussion, you don't have to be an expert. We're looking for friends. This is a resource, a handout for people to be friends with us, and we want you to come on board. So it's a very friendly format. So if you want to be on the hangout, come on in. Aaron will allow you in. The only time you won't be allowed to come in is if you have bad intentions, and Aaron knows how to handle that, and it won't happen. So anyway, to bring the whole thing together is Social Network has a lot of neat tools. There's some primary ones out there from Facebook's message tools to Skype to Hangouts and G+. All I can say is embrace them, try them. You'll make mistakes. You just try again. Someone will give you, if you're just not getting it, somebody will help you out. And so to conclude on this whole thing is my life has gotten so much better meeting so many new people, and I know your life as an RVer would get better, and you'd get more friendships and resources out there to make RVing fun for you and your family and everybody around you. So please reach out, try the Social Network tools, ask people like me and Kaylee and Spot the Scots and Three Tails RV. Ask them how something works if you don't understand it. They will find the time to help you out. For those followers that have been listening to me and Sherry, first of all, I'm always grateful. And I love your friendships, and I love the comments and information we get from you all. And you probably have figured out we've gone from the west side of Oregon, or the coast, and we're working our way east into Central Oregon. And I think I'd like to pass on to you, not only through video, we're going to do it on the radio show, lessons learned. And so whenever we do that, we're putting ourselves out there of just showing that we're human. Now, it's easy for us to be on this side of the microphone and saying, do this, do that, do this, do that. This is the right way, this is the wrong way. And sound like some kind of expert. What I like to make sure that we send across to you is all of us are just as human as you are. And, I talk about all these other channels, and I usually will only acknowledge the ones that I feel that are just down to earth, good people and good RVers. And I also like diversified folks from all ages. I don't want them to all think that they're going to be like going into retirement, which Sherry and I are not in retirement. I've retired from a company, but I still work. Sherry still works on contract. And so we're not in that real retirement mode. But we also deal with a lot of folks in the middle, 30s and 40s, and then folks that are younger than that. And what we want to do is show all the aspects of RVing. But we also want to share with you lessons learned. Because, at the time you can say, Rob, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? And it's like, all of us are very well-educated people, but sometimes you get caught up in weather is a big thing. Weather can make you change your mind of how you do something. You don't have a checklist or don't have a process that works good for you, and you could get in trouble. You could be an airline pilot with thousands of hours of training, and if you don't follow procedures, something could happen that's bad. And the same thing happens with RVing. So for example, Sherry and I left from Seaside, Oregon, and had to go over to Highway 26, which is a pass. And it wasn't the best weather in the world. It was pretty rainy and wet. And of course, they had to be doing construction. And they weren't actually doing construction. They were actually dropping trees because they were having a lot of windstorms. So they were thinning the trees out around the road. And so they had to stop traffic, cut a tree down, goes across the road. They pull it off real quick and let traffic through. So, two things I did that scared the living you-know-what out of me and Sherry. Two mistakes I made for one big mistake. So coming down the passes, it was pretty steep. And I have what's called an exhaust brake. I have a diesel Ford F350 1-ton dually, and I have an exhaust brake on it. The way that is, well, if you have a diesel, you realize diesels don't have the compression to hold you back when you let the gas off like a gas engine does. So a lot of people will use their gas engine compression to help keep their speed down. While in a diesel, you need an exhaust brake, which is a little flapper. It goes across your manifold basically that restricts the air, that starts putting restriction on the engine, which in turn helps hold your speed down. So when you're rolling and your RPMs are up, and which means you're actually in a lower gear, and you turn that on, you hear this type of sound, and that means that compression is holding you back. Well, the diesel, the best way to describe it is as you're coming down a hill and you start putting your brakes on and starting to slow down to a stop, you'll downshift, or not necessarily downshift quickly, that your RPMs will drop to, in my case, when you get down to about 30 miles per hour, the engine actually is starting to idle. I mean, literally idle, even though you're still moving, because the engine shifted. So you don't have the compression anymore. But if you still have the exhaust brake on, that could spell trouble. What happens is when that little flapper comes on and you only at an idle and you're not pushing too much compression through there or air, it restricts the engine. And so what it does is it, on my truck, will make it stall. Now I've had exhaust brakes on a motorhome. I've driven 40-foot motorhomes before, and it feels to me the same thing would happen. So I'm just going to talk about my truck, and I can't talk for others. But my first mistake was coming down a hill and slowing down, and we had to, it was kind of a, oh my gosh, we need to slow down. There's a flagger up there, and we're coming down a pretty steep hill. So I've got the brakes going, but I have my exhaust brake on too. I drop to an idle, and the engine stalls. Well, you know what that means? Nothing. I had no brakes. I was ready to, I was actually starting to press on my emergency brake. So I've seen that happen before, and I had it happen to me once on a little back road. No big deal. It was no effect. But this one was an emergency. I was talking to God. Let's just say that. I knew to put it in neutral quickly, start the engine while I'm rolling, and just as that engine fired back up, everything turned back on, and I had them brakes on, and we came to a stop before we came to the lineup of cars. But I can tell you, my brakes were smoking. I mean smoking. So that was the first mistake. The second mistake was when I left the RV park, I did verify that my electric brakes were working on the trailer. Now, if you're doing passes and stuff, to me, and I'll just say what's good for me, because I don't want to be like some expert here, but you should have stiffer brakes going down a pass. And if you know you're going through some passes, it's nice to make the trailer work harder to slow you down. I did not adjust my brakes to be stiffer on the trailer. So that was my other big mistake, was when I was stopping, it was depending on the truck to stop everything, and it just ripped my brakes a new one. I'm telling you, because although they were working back there, they weren't dominant. If I had my brakes on my trailer more dominant, this helped slow me down, I wouldn't have had half the problem. So by the time I came to a stop, got done talking to God, and realized that we're still alive, Sherry was like, oh my gosh, and I was, oh my gosh, and grateful that I remembered the procedure, what to do when an engine stalls. It's one of those, okay, I need to talk to other people about what just happened to me and Sherry. So these are the kind of things that channels like mine, the Freedom Theory, Spot the Scots, Love Your RV, RV Love, Gone with the Winds, they're all sharing things like this, and they're putting themselves out there. So here I am, I'm embarrassing myself because I made some, it could have been, fatal mistake. So I feel it's important to pass that on to at least the folks that listen to me and Sherry's channel, of awareness. So this brings us to lists and procedures. So I know a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to make a checklist, or a checklist is a pain in the neck, or what's my procedures? And so you can actually get an app now that's called RV Check, I believe, and actually has a checklist made for you. You just have to modify it to fit you. But make your own. And then if you have a partner, like I'm fortunate to have Sherry, we do redundant checks constantly. Unfortunately, it's kind of hard to do a redundant check on what just happened to us, but we're going to try. I mean, I told Sherry, don't you ever let me leave again without a thorough check on how the brakes are set up on my trailer, and let's analyze where we're going to drive. If we know we're going over a pass, I want those stiffer. So anyway, what I wanted to kind of bring up is the importance of having good processes and procedures and double checking one another. And you need to do this. If you're doing this with your partner, it's important to not get on each other's nerves, because you're trying to accomplish the same thing, not dying. So I think that's pretty important. So for example, when we leave, rule one is the procedure of hookup and all that stuff. We keep reminding each other, and it's like, I don't know how many times I'll put the little latch on. She'll go, did you do the latch? I go, yes, I did the latch. Did you put the little cable on for emergency brake thing? Yeah, I did that. And yes, it's redundant, and sometimes you get kind of angry and you go, oh, I did that. Anyway, first of all, try not to do that. Two, just realize that you're in checklist mode. So all rules of social embracing is gone. Just understand you're going through a procedure of trying to stay alive. I'm serious about that, staying alive. So we'll do a walk around. We'll check the slides. Did they seal? Is everything locked up? Is all the windows closed? Is the antenna up? I'll do my own walk all the way around, from driver's side all the way around the trailer and the truck. And Sherry will come behind me and do the same thing. And it's amazing how many times we catch one another with some little thing. And is it redundant? You betcha. Is it irritating sometime? You betcha. Is it going to keep you alive? You betcha. So is it worth it? You betcha. So I can't emphasize enough that if you haven't made that kind of agreement with your partner about no holds bar type of engagement when it comes to safety, please initiate it. If you're more analytical and you have to have a list in front of you, do a list. For God's sakes, do a list. Your equipment and checks, and it's like, I don't want to do a brake checks. And people are going to think I'm stupid because I'm moving, I'm stopping, and I'm moving, I'm stopping, I'm checking my brakes. Somebody might be waiting behind me. You know what? Tough. they're not putting their lives on the road. Maybe in danger on the road. You are. And you've got some heavy equipment you're dealing with. And if it isn't a trailer, a motorhome is nothing to scoff at. We're talking about some major tonnage going down the road. And to take the time to do your procedures, is that ridiculous? No, it's not. So, I'm hoping that sharing this story with you is a reminder of we're all human. And if you have a partner that you're driving with, you gotta have, I know that it's easy to get on each other's nerves and stuff, but you need to make some kind of a treaty between one another when you're in that mode that you can't offend one another at all. It's all about having a safe trip, a fun trip, and enjoy RVing to the best of your ability. Well, all of this brings me to talking about our arrival to Central Oregon. So more lessons learned, I guess, but we brought our fifth wheel to some friends, relatives' property, and it's a great place to stay, but we're going to put it in a different position than we normally would have when we come here. We wanted to be closer to an outlet so we could use our regular power cords, and because we knew we'd be pulling a little more amperage. So another rule we kind of broke is I don't like to drive a long time, but we did on this one because we knew the roads. So we got in just as it was getting dark. So we pull into the place and we start maneuvering around, and we get into but we're going to put it in a different position, which I've never done before, in dark. And just make a long story short, I guess, is we hit a branch on the top of the rig and hit our fan cover of our kitchen that has a fantastic fan underneath it. So it was one of those old darn type things. I'm being nice. And makes you feel sick to your stomach, like because you tend to, when your spotter's watching, which sure he was, you tend to be looking down at down at the wheels, and you're not looking up that much. So she can't be blamed for that. But I mean, it's a lesson learned. And so what I wanted to kind of pass on is, boy, as soon as we got to Central Oregon, it seemed like it was just Repair City, and yet we really didn't think we had any issues. But by the time, after telling you a story, now I got to get my brakes fixed on the front brakes because it was the ones I damaged. So that's a fix. Now I got to fix the cover that was over a fantastic fan, but yet to discover that some reason, and I don't know what caused it, the fantastic fan got damaged and it wouldn't close all the way, but yet the motors worked and everything went up and went down, but wouldn't close the last inch. It's like, what? Really? You can't make this stuff up. It just comes up in RVing. So the first night we didn't level ourselves. We left the truck on the trailer because it was late, and we already hit the thing, and we all agreed let's just put the front levelers down and call it a night. Well, it rained the next morning, and because we weren't exactly level, we started leaking one of our slides in the living room. It's like, really? Oh my God, this is like, and it seemed like everything was just breaking, I guess. So it just felt like we had a gray cloud over us ever since we got here from the beginning. Not now, but anyway, so the next day we just like, all right, let's get the work. Let's move forward. It's an RV. That's just how things happen. So we went up on the ladders, checked out the slides, saw that one of our tapes on one of the seals type thing got kind of crinkled together, which kind of seals the moldings together on it. So we took a ride over to the RV store, which I'll mention, it was called Big Country RV in Central Oregon. They treated us very well, and helped us kind of troubleshoot what possibly could be wrong with the Fantastic fan, and we made a video about that a little bit. But anyway, so we came back with supplies, put good slide insulation tape in the area that we were doing, silicone the dickens out of everything. Actually came out real pretty. The next day and that solved our problem, by the way. And we had a chance to take, and it did dry out enough that we could do this work. And then it gave us a chance to get up on the roof and see what happened with the fan. And then found out we can't close the fan, and the little bar that just wouldn't go down all the way. We ended up tearing the whole thing out of the ceiling and getting to and taking that bar out. And we had to actually put it into a vice grip and actually redesign it almost to get it to work right. Well, after about 5 tries and putting it together and testing it and taking it out and testing it and taking it out and testing it, we got it. So that saved me $200 of going to RV Center and trying to get that fixed. And so what was really good about that is also kind of like, oh man, did you know that the little, if you got a Fantastic fan and you got a little vent there, did you know that pops out? We were always like, how do you get the pine needles out of there? Anyway, it pops right out by people. Just grab the edges of it, pull on it, pops out. Anyway, but it gave us a chance to see how something was built and how it goes together. So if you look at the bright side of some of this stuff, you can learn a lot. So once we got the piece in, put everything back together, the little guy worked pretty good. No problem. So we got the Fantastic fan working. Then I just hashed up the vent cover. I didn't damage it. It's just the brackets can't take that kind of pressure, and they all kind of bent up and some of the screws pulled out. So I had to put all that together, put an epoxy kind of in there because the screw holes were all stripped out, and the screws go directly into the Fantastic fan's plastic. They don't go into the roof. So my solution was get them back in there, epoxy the heck out of it, and that should do the trick. And it looked like it came out good, so we're happy with that. So now, on the agenda is getting the brakes fixed. Got to go to Les Schwab for that. And let's see what else I got to do. Since I was up there, there's quite a few other spots that I'd like to put more of that tape on. And by the way, that tape for 25 feet of it was $44. It's not cheap tape, but boy, it's good stuff. So I'm going to do that while Sherry's gone. She's out for a week. She's doing contract work, which we're very fortunate. It's kind of like telecommuting. So wherever we go, we have to be every month close to an airport. So and all expense paid to go back to Washington, work for a week on contract, and then come back. So it's a really good deal, and it helps us afford what we're doing out here. So if you're wondering how we afford doing RVing, and I get a pension too, but I can guarantee you the pension that I haven't seen yet because I just got out of the company I was working for. It's nice, but it's not enough to cover our expenses. So that's how we're doing it, and that's how we were able to retire so early at 55. Anyway, so the whole point of this story is, if you own an RV, and I know you've heard this before, things break. Well, boy, sometimes it can be overwhelming. There's some other things. I broke the handle on our screen door thing, and it's held together with electrical tape. I'm going to take that off and get that replaced. And so I guess sometimes while you're traveling, if you got a comfy place to go, and we're at a place that I'm very fortunate because our father-in-law is where we're at, is he's got a shop and tools and everything I need to get all these little projects done. And the list seems endless. And remember, on top of that, I got to get a radio show done, videos done all the time, get interviews in, and trying to be social too with my Sherry's folks, and go out to dinner and do things like that. So all I know is I don't know where I had time to work before, but I hope when you retire or get to that, and you're worried what am I going to do after I retire? I'm going to be bored. Well, if you're RVing, I can guarantee you're not going to be bored, because not only that, between all this, all these new friends you're meeting, which is a wonderful thing. To be a friend, you need to be a friend. And that means go visit with your friends. Go have a cup of coffee. Go out to dinner. Go visiting. Get out of the RV and go and talk to your friends, or talk to them on the phone, or Skype with your friends, or in like some of those social tools I was telling you about. So those take time too. And all I know is I don't have time to work anymore. So thank goodness now I'm just doing internet marketing and what we're doing on our channel, and then Sherry's got her thing, and so busy, but getting down to it, an RV is a full-time job, I think, just keeping them running. And whether it's a motorhome or whether it's a fifth wheel or a trailer, there's always something that you could be working on. And the big thing is having the enthusiasm to do it. On an RV, you can't just say, well, I'll fix that next month. It doesn't happen in an RV. You got to get it fixed right away. And you can't let it get under your skin. You just look at the situation, find the best solutions. Don't always dive into the first thing that comes into your head. Talk to people about your issues, your ideas, your problems. And they may say, oh, I've had that before. Try this. Or I know a guy that can do this for you. Or whatever. And it's like, awesome. And the other thing my wife wants to pass on, and this is for Sherry, is just because you decided to live small or to live tiny does not mean your life is going to be easier. In fact, she claims the best way to look at it is it's actually harder. And you say harder, well, you don't have a house and all that stuff. But when you live small, of course, with a trailer, you get the problems of fixing things, and things happen. But to stay organized in small living conditions is critical. When you pull something out, you put it back. You keep with all your, and this goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Keep up your procedures and find things that work. You gotta do your dishes. Sherry likes to do dishes, but she hates to dry. Well, I hate to wash dishes. I love to dry. Works great. So that's how we do it. We don't fall behind in our dishes very often unless we're trying to conserve water. Anyway, but if you got a jacket, you come in, you hang it up. If you do dishes, put them away. If you have taking a shower and you pull your towels out and all the things that you do, put all those things away when you're done. Brush your teeth, put things away. You constantly have to work at it, more so than you do in a regular home where you have flexibility of, I can come back later in the day and clean this up. You can't do that in small living quarters. So anybody that tells you that living small is easier, it's not. It's actually harder, yet it can bring a lot of pleasure. And the payback for living small is, keeping your costs down and lots of benefits to it. But once again, coming back to the beginning of the show, following your procedures, having checklists, having good processes, and communicating with your partner, and having an agreement with one another of how to get these chores done is critical. With all these things we've been talking about in this show, and I'm grateful that you've been sticking it out with us, it brings me to another embarrassing but important thing to pass on. Is last week's show I was so excited for. I have never heard, and I've never done it before. We had the opportunity to do a 3-way interview, which you probably heard on the last show. We had the Freedom Theory, Spot the Scots, and RV Travel Quest, which is me and Sherry. The way we did that was we were fortunate to be in the same park with the Freedom Theory. So Kaylee and Josh came over to our RV, and we called the Scotts on the phone and coordinated them to be in conference with us. And then we have what's called a Roland recorder, which is a MP3 player that we use for podcasting. It's the best of the best, but it's not the best of the best if you don't follow procedures. So, here we go again. We're sticking it out there. I know I'm going to get ridiculed on it, but I want people to just look at what we learned from that. So this is, like I said, been a whole week of lessons learned and learning from our mistakes. So, we took the phone and we put the Roland recorder next to it. And then what I always do is put a headset on, plug into the Roland recorder, and have everybody do a test. Well, guess what? I was so uptight or in a hurry, or I knew Spot the Scotts were in a hurry. Well, not in a hurry. They had a really busy day, and they went out of their way to make sure that they could be at this interview. So I felt a little pressured, I guess. And so I was in a hurry to make sure everybody was comfortable. I got the equipment set up, and I positioned the Roland to the phone in a way I've never done it before, because we actually put up a little stool right in the middle of the living room. We sat around it like a campfire, and I maneuvered the equipment in a way I never did. What I did not do is I didn't put my headset on, plug into the Roland, and do a sound check. The one time that I have never done a sound check, I always do a sound check. And I didn't this time. And if I would have, because as you know, last week's show interview has a lot of background noise issue, electronic noise in it. I spent 4 or 5 hours, it was up to like 1:30 at night, the night before launching, running filters through that thing to try to reduce all that sound. Needless to say, I didn't get it all out. It has some irritating sounds in it. But I urge you, that is one of the best interviews you could ever listen to. There is some stuff to learn in that interview. I ask for your forgiveness that I made such a mistake. I knew better. I know better that I should have done that procedure. But what I want everybody to get out of that is, one, is we're human. These are normal people behind these microphones, behind these cameras. And it goes all the way back to the beginning of the show, talking about processes and procedures. Taking the time to check yourselves. Really, when it comes to safety with RVs, in this case, it wasn't safety related, and my listeners are probably upset with me, and I truly, truly apologize. I will, because that happened, I probably will never have that happen again. This week, I finally have decided I've got to get the podcast studio set up in the RV, irritate my wife by putting more equipment in the RV, but it's time to do that, because I know that you're expecting from us as we're growing to do better and better, and when it comes to podcasts, sound is everything. So you probably heard a cell phone go off in the background in this show. You probably heard my email go off because I didn't shut it off. And it's because I'm using a microphone. It's a very good microphone, but it's designed for music. It's designed for bands, which means it wants to pick up all the noises around it. And I have the proper kind of microphone that is one you have to talk to very closely, because it doesn't pick up the sound around it. And it's a awesome equipment, and it's time for me to get that set up. So hopefully the next show you'll discover there's a sound difference, and hopefully it's a better one. And once again, I could make a mistake, and I've got to run this through mixers and things I haven't done. I know how to set it up, but to actually manage it as you do a show, I could make mistakes. And that goes back to the beginning of the show. Stick your neck out. Try. You may fail. If you really have good friends, good listeners, good relationships with people, and be honest with them, one is they may help you, and two, they'll help you get through the hard times to the point that you'll be a quality measure that other people measure to. But all these people that have been doing it for years and years and years are great models, and they don't think anything of it. But when you're fairly new, and we're still kind of new, Sherry and I, we're still learning, and then we're also blazing new areas that people aren't doing things like the 360 camera. That's been sticking our neck out with something that people are going, oh, something different. I don't know how to deal with that. Some just throw their hands in the air and say, oh, no more 360. I'm not going to watch his 360s. And then the next comment that comes along is, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. When's the next one? So, and then you find a middle ground. So now that's where we started the 360 Fridays. So that way, for those who enjoy the 360s, great. And we have our regular followers that like our regular videos. So there's a compromise on everything. But with the radio show, that was a good example of not following all my procedures. I skipped one procedure, and look what happened. I was able to recreate it when everybody was gone, and I could hear the crackling sound just fine in the headset. I would have known. All I would have had to do is just maneuver 90 degrees to two pieces of equipment, and the electronic static that we got would have been non-existent. So, I'm sorry. I really am. But I want to share that because it all goes back to this whole program. Having good products and procedures, going through your test. Kaylee and Josh and the Spot to Scots, I can tell you right now, they would not have hesitated to say, yes, let's do a sound check. I mean, they wouldn't have stopped me. And they wouldn't have been like, oh, we don't want to do that, Rob. They wouldn't have done that. It was my own fault because I was trying to feel other people's pain. And now I've created a bigger pain because these people made the sacrifice to do that interview with me, and I dropped the ball. And they're friends, and I did apologize to all of them, and they understand. And the big part is they won't understand if I'm not learning from the mistake. So anyway, I'm passing that on to you, for you, the listener. I apologize for last week's interview, but that interview is a killer interview. Please just understand that I learned my lesson. But please listen to the interview. It's one of the best interviews about couples dealing with everyday living in an RV, and it's so worthwhile listening to. So I am grateful to my friends, and I'm so grateful to my listeners for understanding and being patient with us. This has definitely been a revealing show for me, I guess, showing my human side, and I hope I'm doing it for a good cause, and I hope the others do it too. There's a lot of really good people in the RV industry, and it doesn't matter if they're driving a van, Class C, a Class A, a fifth wheel trailer, camper. If they got good hearts, you'll be able to tell really fast that they really want to help you and us out. And I'm hoping that you can see that in me and Sherry. Sherry and I really admire a lot of RVers that have got channels out there, and new RVers come on board. We really, really like meeting the new people. We love your stories. I don't know how many folks I've met that are saying, hey, I'm 8 months behind you. We're going to do the same thing. Oh man, I just love that stuff. Sherry and I both, we just get a biggest kick out of the feedback we get from you folks. And a lot of it's honesty and putting yourself out there and saying, I don't know if I should get a fifth wheel or should I get a motorhome or whatever. And at least you allow us a chance to say, well, this is what we like and this is what we dislike. But we'll never say something's a bad decision. We'll just say, this is what Sherry and I like, and this is other things I've heard. And if it helps you as an RVer or upcoming RVer, that's what we're trying to do here. That's what the Freedom Theory is trying to do. That's what Spot the Scots are doing, and that's what Three Tails RV are doing, and Gone with the Winds, and Love Your RV, and Love RV Love, and all these people are just good-hearted people, and some of them have been in it for years and have products that they've created and books and resources for all of us to use, and it's all good. So from the bottom of our hearts, Sherry and I want to thank you for being a listener and being a viewer of our videos also. We ask you to please take the time to follow us. We ask you to please like our videos and shows. We also love to hear your comments and feedback and constructive feedback that will make us better. But we also just like to hear your stories. And if we've done something that made your life nice or better, or someone else's better, can you tell us about that? Because one little comment like that is worth $1 million sometimes to us. It motivates us. And so I just want to bring this all back to understanding that safety and RV travel is important. Being human is something to recognize. Being human is something that we're not perfect. None of us are perfect. So if we can take the time to find ways to avoid bad consequences, then we need to share that with one another. And that's what this show was all about. So I'm Rob Scribner from RV Talk Radio. Thank you for listening. We love all of you, and thanks for following us. Bye now.